my name's Blue, and thank you very much for showing interest in StudioC. I hope in the next 30 minutes or so, we'll be able to give you a quick overview of our solution, our services, and the methodology behind those two, sort of why did we build what we built and do what we do. Before that, I thought I'd give you just a quick introduction, really as context to background of StudioC. But long before I started the company or I was in ministry, I was a businessman. I've been a businessman for 25 years. Right out of grad school, I joined a company called Daimler-Benz. They're the parent company of Mercedes-Benz. And here's the big takeaway from what I learned at Mercedes-Benz. Right? Even though I thought I was going to join the firm and do some really, really cool advertising and prospect marketing, what I found is that Mercedes puts a heavy emphasis on something they call customer engagement. How do we get our existing customers, get them to love the brand so much that they can't help but go out and tell other people about it? Brand evangelism, right? We've taken that play and run it for 30 years, and you'll see that in StudioC. After Mercedes, I joined what's called a digital agency. It's like an advertising agency using the internet and technology. Our big takeaway, the thing we sold to people, right? These were clients like Toyota and Chevron and Marriott and et cetera, was basically, hey, you're spending billions of dollars annually, literally billions of dollars to market to people, to advertise to people that are not in market right now, right? Maybe they just bought your product yesterday, or maybe they're not ready for that. So what we said is, let us use technology to help you know your customer better so you can create more targeted and relevant messages for them. Right? From there, I joined and started a very small venture capital company. It was all centered on companies with technology at their core. Here's the basic plan behind any big VC or small VC for that matter is, hey, take a company that's doing something well and figure out how to scale it. So really you're seeing the play we ran for 5 years at a church. We're just figuring out how to scale it for a lot of churches to make it affordable and accessible for everybody. So after VC, that's when I joined the church as executive pastor for a church here in Phoenix. My charge, the thing that I was tasked for, was really to look at growth. How are we going to really target growth? And I took the elements of those past experiences and just applied it to church, right? So what we called customer engagement, we just termed member engagement. We still created targeted messages to know people in their life cycle, where they are, so that we could encourage them to take another step to grow in their faith. After that, we've just figured out really how to do that at scale. How do we do this so that people can use it? All churches, all sizes can use that. So I'm really looking forward to diving in and starting with the methodology and moving from there. So again, the place I really want to start is the methodology, sort of the reason behind what we do. This slide that you're seeing right now is really what we call the money slide. It's really where this whole thing got started. It came out of my VC days. What would happen is when I'd meet with companies, they bring in these PowerPoints that are about this thick, about why they're worth $1 billion, et cetera. I'd usually stop at some point and say, hey, can you draw on a single piece of paper for me? Can you fit it on a page, what it is that you do as an organization? So when I joined the church, I tried to do the same thing. What is it? So this is my version, and I know it's oversimplified, right? So don't judge me on that. It's designed to be oversimplified, but this is my version of our job as a church. What are we supposed to do? And you can see you've got this guy right up here on top. I like to just call that person a not yet Christian, right? And our job is to take that person through a journey, through some life cycle they go through. So hopefully they spit out the bottom, plug in the title you'd like, a fully committed follower of Christ, a disciple, right? A leader, a coach, whatever that word might be. And we do that because we hope that person will go out to their area of influence, right? Their sports teams, their school, their workplace, and they'll bring more people into the kingdom for us, right? So eerily enough, this is very similar to what we did at Mercedes. We knew that we'd take somebody up here and we'd spend about $1,200 in advertising to bring somebody brand new into the brand. So total ad spend by new purchasers. Then we would go through, once they bought a vehicle, we'd spend about $300 engaging them, getting them to love the brand. Once we did that, we knew that on average, that person would bring 4 people into it for us. Right? So same philosophy. All I did was say, hey, if this is our job, is to take a not yet Christian, take them all the way down, what are the steps, right? And then the second piece is, are we any good at it, right? Can we measure effectiveness or success? So really quickly, I'll walk you through this one pager, this life cycle. The very top here is something out of the marketplace called the purchase funnel or the marketing funnel. The highest level, we're just trying to make people aware that we exist. Right? This would be things like billboards and display ads. And all we're saying is that we're here. We're not expecting to bring anybody to Christ because of our billboard. We're just making them aware we exist as a church. From there, we're trying to get them to consider going to church. Now, the consideration layer is typically the website. Right? We did a little study and we found that people go to somewhere between 12 and 15 different websites before they'll ever show up at your campus. So what we said is we need to look at it through the lens of a prospect, not necessarily our member. In fact, a little tangent is I would often ask them, like, when you went to this website, what were you looking for? And now this is my words, not theirs, but more or less to see if you were weird or not, right? See if the church is crazy or not, or if I'm going to fit in. So again, when I looked at how we had designed our website with members in mind, it's not that it was weird, but to a seeker, some of it was weird, right? So we redesigned our website early on. But anyways, from there, the goal of the website is to get them to evaluate your church. Now, evaluation for us is a first-time visit. This is when they're actually in the product. They're walking around, they're feeling it, they're seeing it. In my old world, this was a test drive, right? This is when somebody would go to the dealer lot, they'd get in the vehicle, they'd smell the leather, we're getting them into a test drive. Right? The second thing I would look at is your first-time visitor process, right? Is it designed to actually just get them to a second and a third visit, or are we trying to actually get them to buy already, right? And part of that, I say that we looked at it, we were moving people pretty quickly, right? We tried to get them into small groups or some of the others, and I used to tell people, I was kind of like if you showed up for a test drive and I tried to sell you an extended warranty, right? We need to think about what the next move there is. Ultimately, we want them to raise their hand, to say, here's who I am, I want to be known, and I want you to work with me. That would be in the marketplace purchase. I bought, I'm ready to go. This is where it kicks in what we call the engagement wheel. You see this section down here. And all we said is that once somebody's in, once they've raised their hand, what are the things we hope they do? Because we found that when they do these things, the probability that their heart will be transformed for the Lord goes way up. So all I did was talk to a bunch of churches and say, what are the things on average that most of us are looking at? And if you go through these, we want people to be baptized, to commit their life with Christ. We want people to worship. That's typically going to church on a regular basis or getting into the word or prayer. Then we want people to connect with like-minded people. That's this stage here. That's typically small group ministry, but it's also some of the events and the things we do. We want people to serve others. Often that's the form of volunteering on our campuses or in our community or going on mission trips. We want people to share their faith with other people, right? And for us, that was typically learning how to give their testimony and inviting people to church. And we want people to give, right? And that's typically the tithe and or radical generosity, as we call it. Now, we drew that as a wheel because the other thing we found is that people come into those steps or those areas at different times and different places. Rhythm of life, stage of faith, all of that plays a role as to what the appropriate next step would be. Finally, what we're hoping, we call it leader, that somebody spits out the bottom. And I always say the leader or the disciple has two roles. Help other people through their journey and bring more people into the top. Okay, so this is the life cycle. We said if this is as a church at the highest level and being general, this is our job. Take a not yet Christian, turn them into a disciple so they'll bring more people to faith. Two things that we did differently that we're proposing. So we saw a lot of churches put a disproportionate amount of energy at the top of the funnel. We flipped that. We said, you got to look at the whole life cycle. It's all important, but you need to focus. What we chose, about 70% of our energy on engaging people. It's a 4-to-1 ratio more effective, right? You get a much higher, lower cost of entry and a much higher return on your investment. So what we said is we're going to spend 70% of our energy engaging people. And the second thing, and that's really what this slide that you see here is, what are those things that we want to engage people in? Yours may be slightly different, right? We're showing you 7 of them here. Yours may have your own terminology, your own iconography. Your steps may be 8 or 5 or 6. This is part of what we work on with you as a church, right? But the second piece that we said is we don't want to look at this just in aggregate. We want to look at this at an individual level. So I said that I challenged our staff. I want to know where every single member of the church is in that life cycle so that we can target messages and help them uniquely. So I want to know where Bob is, and I want to know where Jill is, and I want to know where Tom is very uniquely in that. In short, this is what we do at StudioC, right? We help you know where your members are in the life cycle. We help you match them intelligently to a step that's appropriate for them. And we give you a platform by which you can tell them how to take that step. So we help you know, match, and tell your members how to move forward in a discipleship journey. And then we just measure the heck out of it and hopefully do it better tomorrow than we are today. All right, so there's 2 ways that we do this. 2 ways that we help you know, match, and tell people. We do it with software and we do it with services. All right, so the first thing I want to dive into is what's the software? What's the solution look like that we built to help you know, match, and tell your people? I'm going to use a persona. We're going to use this person called Emily. Let's assume Emily goes to your church, and we're going to walk Emily through some journey of how she would interact with the software. One of the first things that we recommend is that you use your mobile app as your primary communication channel for your members. I mentioned to you that we look at the website as the primary channel for prospects. Well, conversely, then, if I want functionality and I want messaging that's more member-centric, but it's not showing up front and center on your website, I need someplace to do that. We recommend the mobile app. Number of different reasons. One, people are way more apt to download a mobile app if they're in and they feel like there's going to be unique content and unique functionality. Second is you own the platform, meaning you can message as much as you want and it doesn't cost you anything. And third is we can use a lot of device functionality to help with this. We can use QR codes and cameras and a whole bunch of fun stuff. So I'm going to show you what we do is we take a dashboard and we push it to any mobile app. Dashboard looks very similar to the one that you see right here. Couple key elements. We take those steps. You can see them here as icons or badges, and we highlight them right to the member. Now, this isn't meant to be gamification, right? It isn't meant to say, hey, look, Emily, you're further along than David. In fact, David can't see Emily's and Emily can't see David's. What it is, it's meant to what we call be a persistent message. It's a persistent encouragement to Emily that, hey, if you came to me and you said, Pastor Blue, what is it that I should do to grow in my faith? I'd ask you questions like, are you in small group? Are you serving? Have you committed your resources to the Lord? Are you giving? These things. So all we do is take those steps, again, your steps, your icons, your words, and if Emily is doing that, we light it up here in maroon. If she's not, it's grayed out. What's cool is these badges are also calls to action. So Emily can click on any one of these and it pulls up a way that she can engage in it. So really quickly, I can see in this case that Emily's been baptized. She goes to church on a regular basis. However, she's not in small group, but she serves, she shared her faith, she is not giving, and she's not coaching other people, or she's not leading other people. Conversely, you can see David's in a slightly different place. He is in small group, but he hasn't, for instance, shared his faith yet. And so here's what else, the second piece that becomes unique. So we create this really targeted messages. We call them the For You messages. And these are ones that are really designed for Emily based on where she is in her life cycle. So you can see in this case, Emily's getting messages about join group because she's not in a group. But why would we tell David to get in a group? He's already in one. So David's going to get a message about sharing his story, really targeted to get a call to action. Right? I'll tell you just for fun kind of where some of this came from. When I first joined the church, I got an email like we've all received that said, hey, Blue, it's group season. Don't forget after service to sign up for group, etc. And I remember printing it out and writing on there. I've been in a group for 16 years. I've been leading a group for 11 years. This email just did two things. One, it told me after 16 years, you still don't know me and I'm on staff. And two, it told me I can ignore every future email because they're irrelevant to me. I've already done this. So what I've been saying is, let's get the right message to the right person at the right time on the right channel. But before we do any of that, let's just agree to stop sending stupid messages to people, right? Let's just not send bad messages out anymore. Okay, then we've got a third section here. So you've got the badging in the first, you got the targeted For You messages, and we have something that we just call news and events. There may be a message you want the whole congregation to hear. In this case, it's go to the barbecue. But we still want to produce that with imagery and copy that helps convert better. So Emily may get imagery of family and fun and etc. And David may get images of meat and sports or whatever we think helps him convert. So you're going to see how we take any mobile app dashboard, but we make it highly personalized with a purpose, highly targeted towards something. Now, mobile app for sure, we say that's a primary place, but not the only place. We actually provide a post-gate dashboard for your website, meaning you don't know me, I'm not logged in, I get one website that's all about prospecting me, right? Getting me to go to church, getting me to consider going to church. But if I'm a member, let me log in, and then you can see all of the same elements that we can push. The badges, these are all of the next steps, and then the news and events. One of the other things I like to highlight is this member profile section, both in the mobile app and on the website. We're big fans of highlighting the member's information to the member so they can, update and hygiene their own data. It's a great place for them to update their email addresses or their physical address. If you're anything like us, we're always chasing clean data. So I'm a big fan of let the members keep their own data clean. So you've seen so far that really part of what we're targeting is this idea of getting your members to manage their own discipleship journey. We know some information, we want to expose it and share it with the members so that they can see it and they can start to manage their own journey. The other group that we want to help is your staff. So on this slide, this would be what we call the staff portal. And let's assume in this case that Thomas works for your church. Right? Well, now what we want to do is arm Thomas. So if he's going to go meet with Emily and her husband after service and talk to her, he can simply get a search bar at the top of your mobile app. So whatever mobile app you're using, we put a search bar in there because we know who staff is, but only for staff. They can type in Emily's name. And in this case, this is the page that he would actually be displayed. He can see really quickly where Emily is in her walk, right, from these steps. He can get demographic information about Emily and her family. But the coolest part, he can actually see the messages here that the church has been sending to Emily so he can reinforce what the church is already encouraging, right? So Thomas will be able to see that she's getting messages to join a small group, go to the barbecue, and whatever this one is, go to FPU, right? In this case, because he can see that, he can just come alongside the discipleship journey. So arm the members to manage their journey, arm staff to manage their journey, and then the third group that we're trying to arm to help make disciples are your small group leaders. Now, you can toggle this on or off. You don't have to use it, but because we'll know who's designated in your small group, and I'll show you how in just a second, what we've said is you can now show the badges or the icons of the people on a small group leader's roster. So if I'm the small group leader, I can pull this up in my toolbox, see the people on my roster, obviously communicate with them by email or phone call, etc. But I get to see where each of them are in their walk. And that way, if 80% of them aren't serving, then maybe I lean in a little bit to serving or plan a group serving project to get people going. So again, all we're trying to do is arm the people to manage their journey, help arm your staff to reinforce it and be on the same page, and then arm your small group leaders. All with this idea of let's get somebody at the bottom of that life cycle. Let's make some disciples. So here's how we do it. This is what it looks like. Basically, we give your MARCOM person, the person who's responsible for sending out a message to somebody, this page right here, and it's basically a set of attributes, buckets of data, things that you already know about the member, right? So this may be demographic information you see here or engagement information, and we build that in for you. Anything else that you had information on that we can identify down to an individual, you can access. And then all you do is you basically segment your entire church down to a group of people that you want to talk to. So in this case, it's give me all the active members of the church who are female, 25 to 40, married, baptized, giving, not in a group. Anything else you have, if you had them take the Enneagram test, give me the 3 1s, or if you had them do a spiritual gifts test, whatever that is, we're just shrinking down to a manageable audience. And then we simply say, now that you know who you're talking to, what do you want to say to them? Right? So the next piece of this is actually creating the message. So very simple message builder. You really type in the headline, you type in the copy, you upload the image or the video or the GIF or whatever that might be, and then you schedule when you want it to be displayed. So this is the screen. This is the page that we use to create that message for Emily. Now here's what's kind of cool, and I'm going to go back and show you. This is the message that I'm talking about for Emily. The neat part about this is that these are what we call dynamic messages. They're not static. So we're not creating lists of people. We're creating lists of attributes, and we talk to your system when we look for those people all the time, right? What I mean by dynamic, though, is if Emily clicks on this, if she sees this and she decides it is time to get in a group and she signs up for a group, she would instantly no longer fit this attribute right here called not in a group, right? So that message would automatically be taken out and the next message would be spun up. So this way it keeps it very, very active for people. One of the things I like to encourage our churches to do is to recognize people for their baptism anniversary, right? A lot of people recognize me for my birthday. Starbucks recognizes me for my birthday. What we're saying is there's very few people that recognize somebody for their baptism, right? So what we do is we build a message at the beginning of the year, or in this case, you build a message at the beginning of the year, and it says, go look for everybody that was baptized today, right? Or 7 days before and 7 days after today's date, and show them this message. And that just runs throughout the whole year. And it constantly looks for people. So anybody who fits the 14-day parameter sees the message. The minute they don't, they don't. You never have to change anything. You build it once and let it run for the year. All right, so we've talked about the mobile app being the primary channel to message your members, but not the only channel. we're big fans of something we call omni-channel messaging. So the difference with omni-channel messaging from multi-channel. Multi-channel messaging means I have multiple channels that I can talk to you on, right? I have a mobile app, I have email, I have SMS, I have all these different things. Omni-channel says I still have those, but they're going to work together. They're going to work intelligently. So what we say is I may give somebody a message to join group on their mobile app. And then if they signed up for that, I may send them an email a week in advance to remind them of it, right? And then maybe they get a text message an hour before group starts as a further encouragement. Or maybe I find people that engaged in the message, but they didn't click on the call to action. So those guys get a follow-up email a week later. Or maybe they saw the email and they read through it, but they didn't click the sign up, kind of that, you left the cart type of thing. They can get a text. All we're saying is we still believe in those channels. We just want them working really intelligently together. So this screen just shows you what that platform looks like to build an email, very similar to what it looked like to build a message for the mobile app, and then the same thing for SMS. So you go in and you can kind of decide what's the channel I'm going to use, and data is going to help inform which channel you should use. What I really love too is that we've curated pre-built messages, right? And some of them we've built, some are from actually other churches that have performed really well and they've given us permission to share them. So what we have is this entire message gallery. This is a place that you can go in and you can just upload an entire message with the copy and the content and all of that for your use. It's a nice way to help arm your Marcom person with content to deliver the right targeted messages to somebody. Okay, all of that. We look at that and we just measure it, right? That's helping you know, match, and tell. Now we want to analyze. So you can see on this page, there's two primary elements that we're measuring. One is church engagement. That's this here. Like, are we actually moving the needle and getting more people in group and getting more people serving? And the other piece is really this idea of message engagement. We're looking for constant little touch points, constant little places that we can engage your member. So what we do is we look at the messages that we sent and how well they're performing. This is an actual dashboard from one of our clients. They've given us permission to share it. But a couple things I like to highlight. During this 3-week period of time, you can see message clicks and badge clicks. Basically, when you look at this, Emily could have clicked on two things. She could have clicked on the little icon up here, takes her to sign up for a group, or she could have clicked on the message, takes her to the same place to sign up. In that 3-week period, they had 686 message clicks, but they had 1,600 badge clicks. The badges, guys, are persistent messages. They're just always there saying, we really encourage you to do these things because we believe when you do, you'll grow closer to Christ. And the other thing I like to highlight is during that same 3-week period, they had 130 people view it on their desktop, big, but they had 1,500 people view it in the mobile app. This just reinforces why we say this mobile app is such a critical channel to engage people with. Okay, then you can do all kinds of stuff with the analytics. You can set goals. So when your badges or your icons are set, the steps that are important to you, at the beginning of the year, you can actually set a goal and then we can just help you measure to see how effective we are towards that. Get all kinds of details down in the message. I'm just giving you just a little glimpse of it all. But a couple things you can see here is we measure the effectiveness of images to videos to GIFs. One of the areas, just a little tip early on, is polls. You can create a poll. So actually ask somebody to choose A, B, or C. Polls convert incredibly well because they're very engaging for people. The other thing that we do is we look at your top performing messages. This is the part where if we look at those top performing messages from churches and they've given us permission, we can add them to the library, and these are messages that you guys will all share with each other and have access to. All right, that's what we do. That's how the solution is. Let me tell you how it works. This is a super high level technical about how this works. We live, if you look at this slide here, we live in the middle. We're in the section in green highlighted. We take all of your data sources. A large part of it comes from your church management system, but you have other sources of data. There could be, forms of content that people are using. It could be spiritual gifts tests, could be personality tests, any sort of source of data. We map in and we build you a data warehouse. So every one of our clients gets their own unique instance. We're not cross-pollinating data. We're not matching data. What happens is I have to take all these sources of data that are in different formats and different structures, and we have to normalize and aggregate these into a platform. So you get your own customer data platform, a mini CDP that we stand up on Amazon. Then our messaging platform, the thing that says, tell me everybody who's and everybody who's nots, right? And the message builder talks to the data platform. From there, once you have your message, we can push that out to any channel. So we push that out to a mobile app, your website, email, or SMS. The cool part is we take all of that channel engagement here. That's what this dotted line is. And we pump that back into the platform. And this way you can say, give me everybody who saw the message but didn't open it. Give me everybody who got the email but didn't click through. This is how we get that channel engagement information back in. Okay, that was a lot. That was the solution. Typically, to stand up the solution, to build that warehouse for you and map all of your data over, that usually takes us about 55 days on average. Now, it varies based on the complexity of your church management system and how you're using it, but just to give you an idea, it's about a 55-day process to onboard you. The bulk of that is mapping your data, right? And mapping the logic of what triggers your data. So I mentioned to you there's two ways that we can actually help you know, match, and tell your people. One is with our solution, one's with our services. So you can see at the core is our MES solution, but we've layered these services around it, as you can see this. Now the services take primarily 4 different components or buckets. First is strategy. The strategy group or the strategy services help you really define your next steps, define the triggers and the metrics that will cue those next steps, and really can help with the methodology at a church. Remember, I love this, but the tool is submissive to the methodology. If you don't buy in the idea that we want to grow our church, and we believe we can grow our church by engaging our people as the best way, and we engage our people by knowing them and talking to them in the highest, most relevant, personalized way possible, that's what you need to subscribe to. Part of the strategy is help to introduce that methodology to your staff as well. We also look at your entire tech stack and figure out sort of how positioned are you to run this play called member engagement. So that's the strategy team. Next, you see this technology element. The technology is just that. We can help you primarily with your websites and with your mobile apps. So we've done a series of website redesigns, really with the idea of the prospect in mind. You can see that on the screenshot here. And then of course, because you have multiple mobile app platforms that you're working with, we can help with some redesign elements of the mobile app to incorporate the dashboard and the steps and make sure that it's fluid throughout. So that's the technology team. We have a data team. This is the fun part. And the data services usually takes on 3 forms. One is data visualization, right? We can help you kind of use your data to create reports, to glean information from them. The next would be data analytics. And here's the way I explain that is we're going to take that data, we're going to try to find correlations or elements. When somebody typically stops going to group and stops giving, what happens next? Or when they start serving first, what's the next appropriate step that they typically take? And then the third, where it gets really fun, we can talk about at some point, is really what I call data modeling or data science. So we take all of this historical data. Now we need some history with you to do this. And then we start predicting what we think is future behavior. So one of the campaigns that I ran, for instance, was who do we think is going to leave our church 6 months from now? So I have an opportunity to talk to them today. I don't want to wait till they're gone. I want to talk to them before they leave. That's where data can help inform who we think we might want to lean into at some point. That's our data team. And now we have also a communications team. So for a number of churches, they've said, man, we love this. Will you just help us run the play? So we have a group of people that can help coach your team along the way. We're actually building, many of the messages and campaigns for our clients. Now, I believe the best people to build your messages are in-house church staff. They know your rhythm, they know your voice, they know the tone of the pastor, all of that. But we can come alongside as coaches and we can come alongside as supporters to help you build out that team. I mentioned to you we have 2 ways that we really can help you. We have our software and we have our services. And I hope this gave you a quick overview of how we can come alongside you to help you grow your church. Right? So you should have pricing available. Our pricing is tier-based. It's based on size of church, average weekend attendance. You should see that pricing on the page in front of you. But if you're ready to go, if you're ready to move forward, please feel free to click the Get Started button. And with that, you can sign up, you can get in the queue, and our onboarding team would call you right afterwards. If you have more questions, that's fine too. Don't hesitate to click on the Contact Us button. We'd be happy to reach back out and answer your questions.